Yo, this video, I'm not really gonna talk too much about the stats and stuff. I'm just gonna talk straight about like the philosophy and the mind behind this. Because like I'm gonna consider this the first video in 2023, man. Cause today I was just talking to my brothers and I'm just like, uh. But before I get into all of that, I just want to give a quick breakdown of what happened last week. I lost. If I'm being Nintendo's, I don't actually care that I lost. Um, but what my loss does do, I said does do. What my loss, what my loss does is that it makes the playoff race more interesting. So I do apologize to Kunis and Malik. Malik won last week. Absolutely, he did his thing. Chris absolutely ate last week. Charlie did his thing. Not trying to say. Daniel just at one point it was 9-0 for most of the week. He ate. Larry absolutely dismantled David. 7-2. That's dismantlation. You know what I mean? He dismantled David. David only beat him in free throws and steals. So last week was basically Malik destroyed Glory. Like he grabbed his head, dragged him around the whole thing, and chucked him in the bin. Chris was pissing and peeing, and he was doing everything. Frankie was just Frankie. And then dang, what Charlie did was disrespectful too. I can't lie, it was disrespectful. But this is fantasy, my guys. Daniel, I think Daniel, he's like, let me get humble. You know what I'm saying? And he he did his best efforts to pay respect to Mariano. But at the end of the day, like most of these results are a no-brainer. Are a no-brainer because it's like, yeah, I lost. This one, like Malik knew he was gonna win. Chris knew he was gonna win. Charlie was confident he was gonna win. Daniel was. I was confident Daniel was gonna win, and I knew Larry was gonna win too. I did, right? And then we come to this week. We're 16, yeah. So we have 5 weeks left till playoffs. That's why, like, I'm gonna speak. Like for me, I don't really care about anyone's feelings. I don't care. I'm gonna speak how I wanna speak. If you agree with it, cool, let's talk. If you don't agree with it, cool, let's talk why you don't agree with it. You get me? Like, we're all men, we all have brains, we all have opinions. You know what I mean? Let's share them. We don't have to see eye to eye, but let's have a respectful conversation. This week right here, um, it's an important week for me because I get to see how my team is. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? I feel like right now Larry has the second best team, and I feel like if I can make it interesting, make it look interesting against Larry, I feel like it will help me to gauge um what I have to do next for my team. Um, this right here is a slaughter. It's an absolute slaughter. Um, Malik is getting destroyed, and I want Malik to take it to heart. Um, Malik, you have to take this to heart. Sorry, I'm on my phone. I wanna. One thing I'm gonna start doing when I have thoughts in my head, I want to write it down so I can talk about it in the video. Because sometimes I finish and I'm like, dang, I should have talked about that. I should have talked about that. But yeah, Glory made some trades. Some trades. He's still gonna lose. Yes, he's still gonna lose. I think it's become a yearly tradition. Towards the playoff, Glory runs down to um Daniel's room and they have a discussion and they say, "What do you have? What do you need to win the 2K?" And they just it's become a yearly tradition. Like I feel like if you've been in this fantasy long enough, you have to know that at the ending part of the year, middle to last, like end of the second quarter, going into the third or in the third, Glory and Daniel are going to make a trade. It's just a matter of when. They have made their trades, right? Sorry, Charlie. Charlie's going to win this matchup. That's another thing. I need to stop doing that. It's absolutely out of order. But Charlie is going to win this matchup. The reason why I keep saying Frankie so much is because either I'm going to personally take Frankie's players off his team and give them to people, or he needs to do something. And I'm going to talk about this all later, right? Um, I'm writing that down because I have a really bad memory. I'm True North. Mariano too. Mariano needs to do something. It's just really starting to piss me off. Not Mariano's not pissing me off. Mariano's done nothing, but Mariano is going to lose this week. I don't care. Like, he's going to lose this week. Daniel Ho has Damian Lillard, and what happens? Yeah, let me just this Daniel versus David. Honestly speaking, honestly speaking, I'm scared for David. Right now, it doesn't look like Daniel can win, but this matchup is very, very close. Because 3 pointers, I don't think David's team's that great at 3 pointers. In double doubles, Daniel has the the personnel to actually win that category. And the points category is absolutely still up for grabs. Right? So there's 3 categories up for grabs still, I believe. The blocks, David's team's not too great at blocks, but right now he's got into a hot start. I feel like the lucky number is about 18 or 20. So for blocks, it's about who gets to the lucky number. It doesn't actually matter about where it is during the week because one game someone can get 4 blocks. Daniel gets 4 blocks, he's one behind. So it's who gets the lucky number first, right? I'm now gonna go to next week's matchups because you people need to this. What okay? Yesterday I had a football match, and then after the match, one of the older men he went on like a rant, but I was just quiet and I was listening. But he was like, "What's up with the men today? All you guys do is chase women and go out to the club." And he's like, "Stop chasing women. Stop clubbing." He's like, "At you guys' age, I was still fit till the age of 35. And when you deep it, 35 is actually you're meant to be fit past 35, but playing a sport like football, like in a competitive league at the age of 35, that's still something to brag about, in my opinion." And it's just like, he's right. The psychology of men nowadays is just, I think it's absolutely in the bin. It's absolutely in the bin. Because it's like, this is fantasy, man. Fantasy has been going on for years. Like, imagine playing fantasy in the 90s when you got Magic Jordan, Larry Bird, where big men were actually grabbing 10 rebounds every single game. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, imagine fantasy like in the 80s where you had Hakeem, you had Shaq, you had Penny Hardaway, you had all of these guys, man, that were actually playing every single game. So, like, if you had to make a trade, you had to actually use your head because you know Shaq is playing 70 out of the 82. You know Kobe's playing 78 out of the 82. You know what I mean? So fantasy was actually like hardcore. It wasn't something where it's like, oh, you just join a fantasy and then da. No, because what you need to understand, this is why this generation is in the bin. Because it's like, nowadays we only think about ourselves. And you guys are probably like, what does this have to do with fantasy? It has everything to do with fantasy. We're inside a fantasy where it's like there's $2,000 up for grabs. $2,000 up for grabs. The winner gets 2K. I know Charlie understands that. I know David gets that. I know Cornelius gets it. I know I get it. I know Daniel gets it. Sometimes I question if Larry gets it. Because he makes the adjustment, then he just goes idle. But he will talk. Right? I know Mariano I think Mariano gets it, but I don't understand, like, because it's like his team has gone, I think, 3 or 4 weeks without winning a game. And I haven't even received a trade offer from him. I'm not sure if other people have received trade offers from him. Right? Frankie, complains about the app. You don't make trades. And it's like, I don't understand. There's 2K up for grabs, bro. And it's like, you're fourth in the East. You're about to play Cornelius, which is basically like one of the most important matchups of the season for you because you're inside a playoff race. So if you beat him, you edge him in the playoff race. That's a head-to-head matchup for the playoff race, right? But I don't think he knows that or he cares, right? Then he's playing against me, who I'm in the playoffs, right? And I'm in an okay standing in the playoffs. And in his head, it should be like, yo, I need to win this matchup because I'm playing against someone that is inside the playoff position. So if I beat them, it helps me because all I need to do is just beat everyone else that's in the same zone as me. But it doesn't register. And I'm just like, you're ruining it because it's like, what's meant to happen in fantasy or what's meant to happen inside the real world or sports or inside management or in a business is that anything that's at the bottom that's not efficient, you want to filter it, keep filtering it and keep filtering it so that it now performs at the level that it's meant to perform, an efficient level. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's like we have a line and we have a graph. There's certain people that are above the line and performing above the graph and the data sheet. There's certain people below it. So when it comes to trading players, what I've realized is that we are only trading like a small niche of players because the players are not being filtered. So if I want to make a trade with, let's say, Daniel, the difference will be clear, but it won't be a significant difference because there's only so much times me and Daniel can trade. I think me and Daniel have sent each other almost over 50 or 15 to 20 trades. I don't think I've received, yes, Daniel sends the most trades, but I don't think I received a trade offer from Mariano. I don't think I received a trade offer from basically most of the people here. And that's a huge problem because I don't understand the mentality and the mentality we have where it's like, do we not all want to strive to win this money or what? Like, I'm really actually confused because it's like, I'm playing this fantasy. I'm not playing with this fantasy with like teenagers or women. This is all men. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, so it's like the other day. Wait, let me just get into this, right? So I'm beating Frankie. I'm beating him. It's just that simple. Mariano is going to lose to Malik. He's going to lose to Malik, right? If I'm Malik, I'm having a short memory. Get destroyed by Chris. Focus on Mariano. Because you lose to Chris fair. He has the best team, right? Focus on Mariano. Why? Mariano's also losing this week, right? And you guys are probably basically gonna have similar record. You beat Mariano, you basically are almost knocking him out of the playoff position. So focus on Mariano Malik. That's what I say. David versus Charlie. If David wins this week, it's important. But at the end of the day, this matchup is still relatively important. But if David loses, Chris becomes number one seed. So it's a very important matchup. And if I'm being honest, the way the seasons of the rankings and who's in the seasons, I have fear for teams that have lower rankings than these guys. Like, I'm more scared of Larry's team and um Daniel Loki's team than these guys' team. Because, yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But this matchup is important for the seedings and how the playoff picture would look. It's not more so Charlie. I think Charlie's cemented as the second seed in the East, but it's David because right now David and Chris are in a tussle for number one seed. Larry versus Cornelius. Larry has one of the better teams, so this is going to be incredibly hard for Cornelius. I can't even lie. It's going to be hard. But if he wants to make playoffs, he has to be active and get this done. Daniel is going to simply just beat Glory. And Daniel O's team is actually hard. So I don't think there's a walk in the park for Chris, but with the new acquisitions he's made, the new trades he's made, I believe that it's gonna be we get to see a full week of his new team, which is it's gonna be beautiful, right? We get to see a full week of his team, and it's just like I'm bringing it to the standings, like I'm saying, like so it's like this: we have 5 weeks left. Rory didn't decide that he wanted to make made the trades till like 5 weeks left, right? Um, Frankie hasn't made any single trades. Where can I see like acquisitions and stuff like transaction counter? Yeah. So, and this is another thing. Next year, I'm proposing that we only have 2 IR slots. Cause I feel like with the 3 IR slots, it gives people the incentive to hoard players. Meaning that if people are injured, or if you have a good team, I'm just gonna keep some players on my team because they're injured. And I'm gonna no. It makes people lazy, and then when people are lazy, they don't want to do nothing. And when people don't want to do nothing, they're not playing fantasy. They're idling, and I hate that stuff. Right? Like if I look at Frankie's team, right? Dang. Hurry up! This rubbish laptop. Oh, cool, blimey. But I look at Frankie's team, right? He don't make trades, right? But his IR slot is full. In his IR slot, he has Kelly, OG, and Devin Booker. If we minus this IR slot by 1, it means he has to drop someone from his IR and drop someone from his bench. Because if OG's injured, he's not dropping OG. So he's gonna have to have him on his bench. But if he has to drop some, if he only has 2 IR spots, it forces him to do something. Absolutely forces him to do something. Right now, he doesn't have to do anything because he's in a comfort zone. He has 3 people. These are 3 people that are on someone's team that will make a big impact, right? So if he is now injured, and he has, and the thing about his team that's annoying is that he has all of these players, keeps Jalen Green on his bench that's injured, right? Then he now has all of these players. But if he minus this guy, minus 2 people, someone else can pick him up. And that's why our waiver wire is so dry, because it's like we have 3 IR spots, right? And then we have 3 bench spots. So you basically have 6 people on your bench. So then it's like you can't pick up anyone from the waiver wire, because if he has 3 injured people, he's gonna keep them. Then so next year I'm proposing only two IR spots. Because at the end of the day, this is meant to be a league where it's like if you're injured, the next man up does the job. It's meant to be a league where that incentivizes people that actually are active, if that makes sense. So people that actually take the time to research players that are on a good trend, that research who's a good pickup, that research how to draft. It's meant to be a league that incentivizes that. But it's not meant to be a league that incentivizes people can idle their way to the playoffs because they drafted good. Drafting is one thing, team management is another thing. So it's like, and this is why the NBA is trying to get rid of tanking. Because Frankie now has Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, he has Devin Booker, OG, Ayton, Harden. All of these really good players. He has PJ Washington that someone could use, Jrue Holiday, but he's not making trades. He's not active, right? He's idling, and then all of these players that could be filtered around different teams are not being filtered. So it impacts the fantasy experience, and then you think, why is someone like Daniel making so much trades? Because he has to. Because there's no filter process. There's no filter process in a sense where it's like Daniel drops a player, picks up another player that's playing good. The player he dropped is now playing good. Someone can pick him up. Because there's no filter process, it's not happening because we have 3 IR spots and we have too much people that are idle that have good players. And I don't think Frankie's going to make the playoffs. That's just my opinion. So the filtering process is just not there. Like, for example, Daniel O, right? He's dropped 44 players. He's made 46 acquisitions, done 5 trades, right? He's lost 10 times. He's active 320. He's used his IR 15 times, right? Frankie has done 0 trades, but he's done 31 acquisitions. You guys trying to see what I'm trying to get at here. Mariano has also done 0 trades, but he's done 70 acquisitions, 73 drops, and he's active 332 and 57 IR. So it's like the guys that drafted good, Mariano drafted good, Frankie drafted good, right? But guess what? That's not enough because players get injured. Some players go in a downward spiral. You know what I'm trying to say? So now, what's happened is that Malik has made 10 trades. Have they all been great trades? No. But he's also made the same number of acquisitions as Mariano, even more. And he's done the same number of drops as Mariano. And he's more active, right? So now Malik is in a position where it's like, okay, he may not have drafted as good. He may not have done the best trades. But the thing is, because he's doing the filtering process more than Mariano, he's now in a position where he is, I believe, more likely to make playoffs than Mariano is. Because at this stage, I believe Malik has a better team than Mariano because Mariano's team is more injured than Malik's team. And I would actually bet money because before I told Malik he's not making playoffs. Straight up. Straight up, he was not making playoffs. Straight up. Like, he was not making playoffs because I looked at his team and I said it don't work. But the thing is that everything I said about his team, I don't think he knows it, but he's actually gonna fix it. The Luka and the Ja Morant did not work. Both of them are gone. The Luka trade was outrageously bad. But the Ja Morant trade, he scammed Charlie, like scammed him. And that's the name of the game. You're gonna get duped and you're going to dupe. But now Malik is inside a better position. Daniel's made 12 trades. Only I have made more than him. The only person more active than Daniel is me. No, like, you know what I'm trying to say? Then the only other person that is in double digits is 10. David has made 8 trades. David has made more trades than guys that are not even in playoff positions. And David is number 1 in the West, and he's been number 1 in the West. But he's made more trades than people that have losing records, that have been losing for 4 weeks in a row, 3 weeks in a row. Some of you lost 5 weeks in a row. You didn't make a trade. Chris has made 4 trades. Glory's made the same number of trades as Chris. One is number 1, one is last seed. You know what I mean? So it's kind of just like, it's like, I don't really get it, bro. Like, I don't really get how the pot is 2K, 2,000, yeah? And some of us are just lazy. I don't understand it for the life of me. Like, I don't know what's going on in life that's that deep because this takes 5 minutes. I'm pretty sure, yeah. I'm not with Daniel 24/7, but I'm pretty sure this is what he does. Let's say he's warming up his car. He's like, oh, let me just try and make a couple trades while his car's warming up. Let's say he's microwaving his food. Oh, let me just try and see someone's player stats that I was thinking about. You know what I'm trying to say? Simple like that. Or let's say his break is done in 2 minutes. Let me just quickly do my lineup. He's been on the app 3 times during basically fantasy stuff, but has taken nothing out of his day in a sense where it's like Daniel did not lose sleep because of fantasy. He didn't lose anything from being on the app and sending someone a trade. It doesn't mean that Daniel is a loser because he sends so much trades. You guys get what I'm trying to say? It doesn't mean he doesn't have a life because he sends so much trades. You get what I'm trying to say? It don't mean those things. It just means that he understands that, yo, first of all, life is short. You get me? Life is short. And third of all, there's money on the line. Like, there's money on the line. And he knows that as long as he makes playoffs, he has a high probability to get that money. Because playoff is a different game. And it's like, some of us don't get it. Like, Daniel has 74 acquisitions, so does Malik. Malik went from me saying he ain't going to make playoffs. Like, there was no way. Like, there was no. Like, we were going out in the group chat. That's how strongly I believed it. Now he there's a strong possibility he can actually make it, based off of the fact that Mariano don't want to make no trades. Frankie don't want to make no trades. So your teams are just gonna keep getting worse and worse because at the end of the day, Malik, like, at the end of the day, what's going on here is like this. If you're really bad at something, the more you do it, you're naturally just gonna get good at it. So the more Malik trades with people, the more he's gonna learn how to do better trades. And he made some bad deals, but in the bad deals he made, he also made some great deals. Why? Because he kept on doing it. And the thing is like the reason why I rate Malik is that he's heard everything, but it ain't stop him. You know what I'm trying to say? And the thing is, he's real with his emotions in the sense where it's like, if he wants to leave the chat, he gonna leave it. If you want to come back, we're gonna add him back. But I respect that as a man because he's being true to himself. You get what I'm trying to say? But for me to see you as a fellow man with zero acquisition, you ain't about to make playoffs, and you're like, it just pisses me off. And for me, it's like, if we're inside a fantasy, right? The only way everyone gets a fair shot at the money is if everyone just is committed. Is committed. And I'm not saying that your fate is inside someone else's hands, right? I'm not saying that. But at the end of the day, like, even in real life, there's draft, there's training camps, there's 82 games in a season. But guess what? Teams have the opportunity to trade with each other. Why? Because there's always room for improvement. Because you need to filter in and filter out. That's why people retire, to filter in and filter out. And in our fantasy, what's going on is that only certain people are filtering and filtering out. Certain people aren't. So you have the same people training with the same people. So some teams, which is, yeah, Malik and Charlie raised a very important point. How the heck is Chris's team so good? Because of what I'm saying. Because what's going on with Chris's team is that he's had an excellent draft. But guess what? Someone like me, who, let's say, didn't have such as good as a draft, the only way I can get my team to that level is one, waiver wire, or two, trading. But if I'm only trading with Daniel, occasionally trade with Charlie, it means that we are just, you know what I'm trying to say? It's just like that. But there's no way any of us are gonna ever reach Chris's level if we're not bloody trading. Like, Chris is going to beat Mariano in the playoffs, which is why I don't. It's because then this, like, Malik, you see what I'm trying to say? So what I'm predicting, like, Frankie's not even in the playoffs right now. He's not. So Cornelius beats him this week. Malik looks like he's losing this week. Mariano's losing this week too. So after this week, it's literally gonna be Cornelius, Mariano, and Malik. Mariano went from being the second seed in the West to now being, he ain't gonna make playoffs. Because even if KD does come back, let's all be real for a second, right? His team with KD gone wasn't the same with him having KD and Karl-Anthony Towns. And I told Mariano, I said, when he first went down, I said, you have a decision to make. It's either you ride it out or you make the trade. But if you ride it out, you have a risk of not making the playoffs. I said it. He ain't making no playoffs anymore. He ain't. There's no way. There's no way he's making the playoffs anymore. Unless he makes some trades, there's no way. Because at this point, Cornelius' team is better than Mariano's team. Because he has Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown both healthy, and DeJounte Murray. Mariano don't have anyone on his team better than Jason Tatum. If Malik was to face Mariano, Malik is winning because he has the best player out of them that's active. Kyrie Irving is better than anyone that's active on Mariano's team right now. Right? So what's going on here is like certain people are fantasying, other people aren't fantasying. And the people that haven't been fantasying, at the end of the journey, it's haunting them. And that's how life works, my guys. In the sense where it's like, if you're doing the basic necessities, you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your home, you're going to work, right? Okay, this person's an influencer. They make 100,000 here and there. So it looks like their life is better. But you continue going through your cycle and your routines. And you're constantly striving for growth and to be an efficient human being. At the end of the day, you will surpass that person. That's just the basic principles of life. If you don't believe me, I don't give a damn. But that's the basic principles of life, my guys. And I just feel like there's no I don't know the last time Mariano won. I really don't know. And I never thought I would be speaking like this with Mariano. I don't know the last time he won though. But basically what's gonna happen is this. If Daniel O wins this week, right? Malik loses. This race is going down the wire. I'm saying this. It's going down the wire. Like, like it's going down the wire. If I am Charlie, please. You don't want to play Daniel in the playoffs. With his new team, you need Charlie. You either need David to continue the way David's going now. He's at risk of falling to number 3 seed. So if I'm Charlie, I'm praying David continues with the same attitude he has now. Right? And Charlie goes to number 2. Because Daniel is hard in the playoffs. And especially with this new team he has now, his team is good. It's good. It's good, my guy. And you have guys like Jimmy, Anthony Davis, and Zion who potentially in the playoffs are gonna miss at least one game each. You can't afford that. You can't afford that. You may think I'm chatting, but you can't afford that, bruv. In the playoffs, you can't afford that. I'm telling you. Because for me, yeah, the major difference I believe in the mentality between the reason why I feel like Chris's team has taken a step above Charlie and David's team is the sense that where it's like Chris understands that he is beatable. I think David doesn't really get that. I think David believes that he's beatable only if he lets you beat him. If you guys get what I'm trying to say. But Chris understands that in any moment in fantasy, Embiid can drop and fall. So in Chris's mind, he's like, if Embiid drops and fall, is my team balanced enough? Yeah. Keyword balanced enough that I can still compete with David. And that's the difference in mentality right there. That's the difference. In a sense where it's like, he's going to keep searching for that balance. Whereas others believe that you can only beat me if I let you beat me. Or because I didn't do this and this, that's why you beat me. But if it's in my hands, you will never beat me. You know what I'm trying to say? And that's why I believe Chris is like untouchable right now. Because of that mindset. And it's crazy because I feel like we should all have that mindset. Because we all want the money. But I don't think everyone actually wants the money. I actually don't feel like everyone wants the money. Right? Some of us, I think some of us have a lot of money. And we're using this as a way of giving to a charity for our tax season. To collect more tax dollars. Right? And this is a perfect example. As why I'm advocating for 2 IR spots. He has KD and Karl Anthony Towns injured. Cool. He can't drop them. But he has Mitchell Robinson in his IR. Cool. If there was 2 IR spots, what's going to happen? He has to drop Mitchell. He has to drop... Look, Sochan is injured. He hasn't dropped him. So there's 2 IR spots. It forces him to drop Mitchell. It forces him to drop Jeremy. It forces him to make a decision on Jeremy Brunson. But I think Brunson is undroppable. But you see what the 2 IR spots does? It makes the wire waiver the wire bloody waiver. Because my man cannot hoard players. Because you know that if someone is injured, I only have 2 IR spots. So that means I have to drop someone. It means I have to drop someone. And because I'm dropping someone, my team, I ain't going to win. So I have to pick someone up. But you get Frankie and Mariano have both their IR spots full. And they both have people injured on their bench. So it forces people to not be idle anymore. Glory had DeRozan in his IR for 1 full week. For 1 full week. God. For 1 full week. But guess what? If he didn't have the comfortability of having 3 IR spots and there was only 2 IR spots, then it's like, okay. Because Brandon Ingram was in there for a long time. Look. Injured. He doesn't even care that he's not in the IR. He doesn't care. He doesn't bloody care that he's not in the IR. Look. You see what I'm trying to say? But if there's 2 IR spots, you have to care. You have to care. You have to care. Want to know why? Because then the waiver wire is active. And if we have an active waiver wire, guess what? It makes it that anyone can pick up a really, really good talented player on the waiver wire if they're active. But if you're not active, if you're not active, you don't get the waiver wire because you're not going to use it anyway. But for those of us that are active, we get a waiver wire. But because you man that are not active are holding the players, we don't get a waiver wire. We don't get one because you won't give us one. Because you're holding the players because you're idle. So then some of you guys have gone on the grace of you've had a good team, so you've won. And you're trying to ride on that. But I want to put that to an end next year. And we're only having 2 IR spots. And I'm going to fight heavy for it. Because I remember we all played fantasy during the bubble. And we all suffered. And the reason why we increased it to 3 was because it's like, we all realized that, hang on a minute, like, if these guys get injured, it's not my fault. Like, it's just not my fault. Like, what can we do? But it wasn't meant to be like this. You know what I mean? It wasn't meant to... Like, Lonzo Ball's not playing basketball this year. This is what's paining my soul and my spirit. He's not playing basketball this year, but yet my man, you're not in the playoffs. You're not in the playoffs. You're 6th in the West out of 6. You have the 2nd worst record. You have Lonzo Ball, who does not play basketball currently, on your IR. If there was only 2 IR spots, he would have had to drop Lonzo, right? And because he would have had to drop Lonzo, it would have incentivized him to now pick up someone. Because guess what? He can't hoard Lonzo. So if someone else that is more valuable than Lonzo is injured, he doesn't get to keep Lonzo and add so he has to drop Lonzo and pick up someone and put someone on his bench. It forces people to be active. And it's like the people that are falling have their like I don't really get it. I don't really get it, man. And it's like it's the same thing with David. David has great team. He drafts well. Actually, David didn't draft well. He didn't draft well. What happened with David is that he duped Malik and he duped Daniel, and his team became good, right? He got Sabonis for free, and then he got Doncic for free, which led to the other stuff. I don't care what he tries to say. I don't care. It wasn't unfair. Everyone knows the trade was rubbish. All that phase is over. That all of that lying and that's over. Everyone knows the trade was rubbish. David won that trade, clear day. Even Malik will come out now and say, you know what? Yeah, I got duped. Want to know why Malik will now come out and say he got duped? Because he just done it to Charlie. So he he knows what it feels like to fully win a trade. But it's like this, yeah. You look at Chris's team. Ayar's empty. The thing is empty. But you realize that the losers, the people that are losing heavily of recent, their Ayars is not. It's not empty like this. It's not empty like this, brothers. So it's like and the thing is, he's only made 4 trades. So it's not like he's doing anything spectacular. He's only made 4 trades. Because a guy like Chris, like there's different type of players. People that focus on the draft or people that are not as good as at the draft but rely on trading and their waiver wire. Chris helps them. And that's the thing. I learned this in sociology. Every single action you do in life affects someone else. So Chris is helping fantasy without knowing he's helping fantasy. Why? Because he's being active in fantasy. He's being active, meaning that he's not gonna hoard Lonzo Ball, who's not gonna play basketball this season for the whole year. Instead, he's gonna put him. He's gonna put him on the waiver wire, right? And then keep adding and dropping, adding and dropping. So you know what happens next? When I go to the waiver wire, because someone else is active, I also get the best crop. And because I'm active, I'm giving them the best crop. So we're each giving each other the best opportunity to win and making it as competitive as possible. But when we have free IR and people are being idle, it doesn't incentivize that. It doesn't. Because people can go in and out. Like in our fantasy currently right now, I kid you not, I can go idle for 5 weeks, then be active for 5 weeks and still make playoffs because of how our fantasy is set up. Frankie hasn't even woken up in this fantasy, and I'm not saying this to diss him, but he hasn't really given it his all this fantasy, and he will tell you that he hates his name is ESPN sucks Clubhouse. So he doesn't care about this fantasy as much as he should, and he knows that. He knows it. But guess what? Because he has such a good draft, he can just idle. And then if he wants to, the last 3 weeks, if he's sitting inside an okay position, he could possibly make playoffs. But I don't want our fantasy to become like that. I want it to be like if you're not active, you get punished, and I want the punishment to be harsh. I want it to be like if like for example, Larry's team is great right now, absolutely great. The only thing he needs to do is waiver wire. But there was a time inside Larry's managing career this season where it's like he wasn't doing nothing and his team was absolutely rubbish, right? But it wasn't until he actually took initiative to make his team good. But you don't have to do a lot. You know what I'm trying to say? Like you don't have to do a lot. But it's like nowadays it's like people I don't really know, if I'm being honest. Like I don't know. You know what I mean? So it's like I just feel like at the end of the day we just all need to do fantasy, because this fantasy experience is limited. Like I've been inside fantasies. Me and Chris do Yahoo fantasy like every year with David. I won Yahoo last year. The thing was so easy. It was so easy because it's like no one talks, no one makes trades, right? People barely use the waiver wire. So all you really have to do is draft well, because no one talks, no one makes trades. So as long as I draft well, I'm in a good position. And then because people don't really care, it's like if because they don't really care, when they start caring, it's just too late. It's just too late because it's like if you draw with me in the playoffs, I'm still gonna win because I beat you regular season. You know what I mean? And those fantasies are one, they're boring, and two, it's literally easy. And as a man, it's like think of it like this: you don't have any investments. You don't invest because you don't know how to invest. So you haven't taken the time to invest. But guess what? Fantasy is an investment. Like it's actually an investment. I don't care if your girlfriend is like, "Oh, why are you always on this app?" Da 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 da. Guess what? I'm putting in $200. I think that's the asking price. If I win, minus my $200, I'm making, let's say, 1,800 or 1,600, right? And that's from 21 weeks of fantasy. 21 weeks of just literally looking at numbers and just understanding the most simple of math. We don't even have to do math. They do it for you. So imagine if you join free fantasies every single year, $200 each. That's $600. And then you have a chance, depending on how much people are in the fantasies, right? So let's say it's like what 1,800 plus 1,800 plus 1,800. You have a chance of making 5,400 just because you made 200 into about 1,800. Like think of it like that. Like think like that. I have a chance to make 200 into 1,800. And then what? Let's say you won. Now, because you've won, you can be like, okay, I'm gonna take away my money for next year's fantasy, put it into the side. Now I have 1,600. Oh, let me pay off all my credit cards. Like, think like why don't we think like that? You know, like why don't we think like that? Where it's like, yo, this could actually be like a way of passive income for me. Where it's like I'm not too good at like stocks and stuff, but this is a stock. Like fantasy is a stock. Whereas like if I put my energy, if I just simply put 15 minutes a day into fantasy, I can double, triple my initial investment. And your ROI is literally insane. Like it's insane. And the thing is like this is what some people do inside the real world. Whereas like they may not be like the best at um other things like finding stocks or whatnot. But they find what they're good at. They find what they're passionate about or what they like. Some people come into fantasy, they may not even like fantasy, but then they like the vibe, they like the talking to people. And they're like, you know what? Like, this isn't too bad. Let me now go on YouTube. Let me find a YouTuber that I like that's gonna help me. And then what? You come last, then you come in the middle, then you win. We can play fantasy for about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. You can play fantasy for 8 years. Till like 8 years. Right? And in those 8 years, that's when you will not make a profit from your investment in fantasy. That's when you won't make a profit. Imagine that. What other thing in life can you do for 8 years? Like this, yeah, and not. That's what I'm saying. And it's not even harming your budget. Like it's $200 bloody dollars, mate. Like this is $200 we're talking about, and it's not even like harming your pockets like this. So it's just like I don't know, man. I really don't know. I'm trying to find the thing where like I can turn my emails on, but I don't know where it is. But like I really don't know. I don't really know what else to say, if that makes sense. But at the end of the day, like, where is it? Because I want to see, like, because I'm not gonna lie, I've been having issues with the fantasy app with like the injuries and them telling me about injuries, but like, I'm not gonna complain about it. Like, it is what it is, but like, I don't know, man. For me, it's just it just don't make sense how there's so much money on the line, but yet not everyone wants the money, or I don't really understand it. Cause it's like even if you don't like the app, yeah, even if you don't like the app, the fact that you can win $2,000, suck it up. You know what I mean? Even if you don't like the people, the fact that you can win $2,000, like, suck it up. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, like you guys get what I'm trying to say? Like, you can win 2,000. Like, okay. Receive daily email reports. I'm gonna turn this on because maybe that will help. I don't know, but yeah. Um, yeah. But I want to look at the power rankings, and that's another thing, man. Shout out to Chris, man. Chris puts a lot of energy into this, yo. Like, he puts a lot of time into this, a lot of energy, and he don't say nothing. He don't ask for no nothing. He just does it, and like we both do it. And I try to say I'm up in here, and it's like shout out to Chris. And I try to say because he took this, and he's making my work a lot easier. He's making it a lot easier. Next year I want to make it that, like, if it's not like every episode, but like at least once every three, he's up in this. Not trying to say, but here's the power rankings, man. Like, at the end of the day, this is not gonna change, man. I do feel like Daniel's gonna come back up, but I'm gonna gatekeep that fifth seed. I'm gonna gatekeep that fifth seed, and also the way I'm moving, I'm trying to avoid Chris. So if Chris becomes number one seed indefinitely, I'm becoming sixth seed. Daniel, you can take number five respectfully, but um, this right here, all due respect, rightfully so. But I do believe that, yeah, rightfully so. I believe that Mariano's gonna be blue soon. That's just it. Mario's gonna be blue soon. Cornelius should be white. But yo, Jason Tatum is a freak of nature. That guy goes crazy, man. I can't lie. And I've learned something new again this fantasy. Like every fantasy, you learn new things. And then Larry beat David, and hats off to Larry, man. Larry really me. I remember when me and Larry were both at the bottom, and now he's above me. We're 4 and 5, and it's like he didn't really have to do much. Actually, he did have to do much. He had to use his brain. But as a man, using your brain, having vision, having hindsight is meant to be a standard requirement for a man. And he just done that, made what 4 trades, and now he's beaten the number one seed. Like he beat David up. You know what I mean? So no one else has an excuse. You get me? With this year, like look at this. You know what I mean? Like look how bad I played too. Like cool blimey. Like look. So it's like we all like this is why it's frustrating for me. This is why it's frustrating because it's like we all have to like Chris is literally going out of his way, putting these numbers. We even changed the format. And we're probably gonna sit down again and talk and be like, how can you make this even better? Like he even changed the format. He's like, this is the median. So now you even have the grace to be like, yo, how did my team do compared to the other teams? Like, and I said, there's no in between anymore. It's either you're green or you're blue. There was only 3 blacks this week. Like, so it's like, I don't even know what to say no more, man. Because it's like, other fantasies don't even have this. I don't think other fantasies have it where it's like, you have a power ranking, and then you have weekly stats in a sense where it's like You don't even have to listen to me talk. You can literally just skip to the bit where it says weekly stats, screenshot it. Then what you do is create an album and see how your team does every single week. That's literally all you need to do. And your team will become better just because you're looking at data and you're analyzing the data and you're making adjustments based on the data analysis. That's literally all you have to do. And that literally takes like 5 minutes of your time. But like nowadays, like the alpha male can't do that. So I don't even know. Like I really don't even know, man. This I don't know. But yo, this is King Colin Walker. You know how we do, baby.